Hello, this is Richard Lai. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Engadget Chinese. Welcome to the second edition of the Yahoo Finance All Market Summit Asia. The theme this year is New Challenges, New Opportunities. And for this Asian chapter, we have once again gathered some of the brightest minds in the business world to get a rare glimpse into their insights and best practices here in Asia. To check out more content from All Market Summit Asia, please visit hk.finance.yahoo.com. Now, for this session, I'll be having a chat with Mr. Francis Belin, who is the APAC president of Christie's, a world-renowned auction house which started beginning running business from around 256 years ago. So I'm sure things have progressed a little since then. So, Francis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Richard, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Now, first of all, I think we have to talk about the pandemic, because one of the biggest surprises I found is that according to your company's figures, Christie's auction totals in APAC actually saw a 45% growth, going up to 3.91 million Hong Kong dollars. So what actually happened there?
So we had pandemic was very challenging for a lot of people, for of course our staff, our friends, our family, some of our clients. But when we look at our business, it's been a fantastic opportunity, and we've seen a very, very quick rebound already in the second half of 2020. 2021 was a record-breaking year for us in Asia Pacific. We sold over $1 billion worth of art through our live and online sales, and the participation of Asia Pacific collectors to our global buying was also record high, with over 30% of the buying. Going into 2022, where the backdrop, the economic backdrop, continues to be somehow challenging, we continue to see very strong performance in the first half. We sold in Asia Pacific about $500 million for the first half, and that's more than 40% growth over the first half of 2019. So when we look back to pre-pandemic, we continue to see a very strong momentum. We broke records with the overall numbers. We broke records with multiple artists, 35 artists in our last season in May in Hong Kong. We had the best season for luxury, not only with art, but also luxury. So we're very excited with this, of course.
So would you say, for Christie's anyway, APAC performed the best compared to the rest of the world, compared to the other markets during this time?
But I think what has surprised us in Asia Pacific is to continue to see this very strong momentum, and the momentum that actually expands to more categories. Asian collectors used to be years back very focused on Asian art, and we've been throughout the season introducing and presenting, more works from Western influence, cross-curating sales, creating that dialogue between Asian artists and Western artists in our sales in Hong Kong, and we see that this is resonating very positively with our collectors here.
Now, you're based in Hong Kong, which is where we are here right now, and well, I guess maybe the question is, which of the APAC markets do you see the biggest growth potential these days?
Well, they're actually all growing. We don't see any market that is particularly weak or declining. We see there's a tremendous wealth creation in the region. Of course, Greater China with mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan is a very strong pillar of our activities across the region. But we see in Japan, we see in Korea, we see in Southeast Asia, we see in India. These are all regions, areas where we continue to see also sustain momentum, new collectors, existing collectors expanding into other categories. But I would say that Greater China has historically been about three-quarters of our activity in the region. But Southeast Asia is doing extremely well lately, and so is Korea.
And Christie's is still the only foreign auction house allowed to operate or allowed to do sales in China. Is that correct?
So you're absolutely right. We've been very committed to engaging collectors and empowering collectors in mainland China since 2013. We have a license to operate auction. We had a little bit of a pause during the pandemic because it was difficult for us to go, but we decided, despite the travel restrictions, to go ahead this year in 2022, and we're hosting the first Shanghai to London sale. So we had a sale with two legs, so one leg in Shanghai with 20 lots being auctioned, 95% of the lots sold. It was a record-breaking auction for us there. And then it moved seamlessly with the live streaming, connecting the two sale rooms into the bidding in London. So that was in March this year. And we continue to have a very strong roster of activity in mainland China. Some of the activity are selling activities, like the auction you were referring to. Some are live, some are online. We had Maotai sale. We're preparing more online sales in China. And then we have non-selling activities, because we believe also part of our mission to empower collectors is to bring the best of art through shows that are not necessarily with works that are for sale.
Now, you mentioned remote bidding, which is obviously one of the key elements to sustaining your business, I suppose, during the pandemic. And actually, I think Christie's has been offering virtual bidding since 2006. And then since then, you've also launched, well, I guess that was first launched on the website, and then you've got the mobile app. And later on, you even launched a mini program on WeChat as well. Right. So I was wondering, did you see a significant push towards, in terms of user preference, pushing towards all the virtual presence bidding during the pandemic?
Yes, we have.
And what was that like for Christie's?
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted more digital innovations. We wanted to have more digital engagement, but I think we're very settled in the way we're operating pre-pandemic. And the pandemic has transformed the way we engage with collectors on both pillars of our value chain. When it comes to presenting, we have our app, we have our website, we have a very sophisticated WeChat mini program that gives an opportunity to WeChat users, specifically in mainland China, to not only open an account and clear KYC, but also to browse all the sales that are being offered globally, to bid on these sales. And we've been able to bring forward really the way we present these objects. It used to be a very physical experience. You would come to the galleries and enjoy a Zawuki, a Monet, or a piece of Chinese ceramics. And these digital innovations have allowed us to bring this much closer to collectors, even if they physically cannot be there. On the transactive side, equally so. Used to be this evening sale packed with 400 people and people bidding in the room, on the phone, and we've been able to translate that experience and the excitement and the passionate bidding that we observe into live streamings. We had over 12 million people tuning into our live streaming for our Hong Kong sale last year, and that's multiples of what it's ever been before pandemic. So I think we've been able to bring the auction experience, whether it's the object themselves or the transacting part of what we do, much closer to collectors if they're not able to come physically. And I think the reopening of Hong Kong and travel resuming pretty much everywhere, hopefully very soon, will allow people not only to be there physically and enjoy this experience, the objects and the transaction in the sale room, but if they can't travel or if they are not able to come only for a portion of the sales, then they can still enjoy all these technical and digital innovation that we've been able to deploy and massively roll out through the pandemic.
What's the age demographic like for your, say, bidders across APAC, and how does that compare to the other markets for Christie's?
So APAC has a younger, about 10 years in average, younger client base. I think it reflects also the wealth profile of Asian collectors. Take any metrics on millennials, whether it's the number of millennial buyers, the number of millennial transactions, the value of millennials buying, the new millennials buying. Take any of these metrics. When APAC accounts for 30% of the global buying, APAC would always account on the millennial side for 50 to 60% of what it is in global. So millennial buying last year from Asia Pacific clients was about 60%. New millennium buyers was about 50%. So it's a very strong, younger profile of collectors. And I think that also explains why the digital innovations that we've been implementing have resonated so strongly to our collectors across the region.
Do the millennials have a particular interest in certain categories when it comes to Christie's auctions?
I think millennials would often come to collecting through, I would say, more contemporary categories, whether it's contemporary art, possibly living artists, Of course, NFTs, which we started with a big bang last year in March in New York with the work of people that sold for $69 million US, and we continue to be very focused on, and we believe it's a category that's here to stay. We have recently launched in what we call sneakers, streetwear, and collectibles. So we see this also as a category that younger collectors are more likely to embrace. But I think there's a tendency to pigeonhole younger collectors into specific categories. This is not necessarily what we observe. I was almost intrigued to see that in Chinese paintings, modern Chinese painting, the proportion of millennial buyers in our last May sale had more than doubled. And it's the same for Chinese works of art, which are really antique and sometimes have the image that the collector base maybe is a little bit more mature. The reality is that we see also millennial buyers being gradually embracing a wider diversity of categories and not just the one that we think would just stick to their age.
But are these people, is this more of a case of more local millennials supporting Chinese artwork, or are you seeing more let's say, foreign or even Western millennials buying or showing interest in Chinese artwork? I'm just wondering.
But there's always, you feel connected to certain categories because this is what comes from your culture, your environment, the language you speak, the museums you've been visiting, the aesthetics that you've been growing into. So I wouldn't give a definite answer that Asian collectors buy Asian art, but there's a reality that you usually buy art that connects to you more directly. As much as you would see Indonesian collectors having more interest into Indonesian artists, but what we do at Christie's, and we have like one big sale room in Hong Kong, we have these opportunities to curate sales with the best art across all these categories. What we do is precisely this. We offer an international platform, not just the regional platform in Hong Kong, because with that live streaming and all the digital innovation we have, we bring this across the world.
Now, speaking of promotion, and you mentioned, the big NFT record deal with Beeple, and very recently, you guys launched Christie's 3.0, and I understand that it's a marketplace specifically for Ethereum-based NFT artworks curated by Christie's. What are you guys hoping to achieve with this new project?
It's an interesting thing for us to have done because I fundamentally believe that digital art is not a separate category. Digital art is an extension of 21st century art. But it's important for us to be fully relevant to our clients. NFTs are being transacted on chain, so we need to provide this, and we're very excited to provide this to our collectors. And then we provide it with the Christie's name, with everything that is related to what we do when it's KYC and all the different vetting that are associated to the way we operate off-chain. And I think we bring hopefully a very safe and trusted platform for collectors who are not quite into the full crypto mode yet, but want to be embracing the category of NFTs and transacting them maybe in a safer way. So we will continue. So this is a platform per se. I think the core of what we bring in with our aspirations to be tastemakers is the curation of the sales that we're going to put into that platform.
Now, Francis, is there anything you're particularly looking forward to for maybe Hong Kong or at least across APAC, which is what you're looking after anyway? Anything exciting coming up?
So we have our big auction week coming up at the end of November at the Convention Center. And of course, the usual lineup of masterpieces across categories of art and luxury. But we are particularly excited this season to bring a T-Rex, the full skeleton of a T-Rex called Shen. So it's over 12 meter long. It will be exhibited at the Convention Center. It makes its debut in Singapore, in our preview there. And that's quite unique. There's only 20 T-Rexes in the world. None of them are being owned in Asia. Some have been shown in Asia. We're particularly excited to be the first one to auction such a massive skeleton in Hong Kong at the back of a very successful auction of a stand in 2020 in New York and a smaller one called the Raptor, which is not a T-Rex.
Where will Shen be coming in from?
So Shen was born and died in Montana about 66 million years ago, and was excavated, I think, in 2020. It's over 50% complete. The skeleton we show has the reconstruction for the parts that are missing, so it makes it one of the most complete skeleton for T-Rexes amongst the 20 that are known.
Well, it's just perfect timing because Shen won't be needing hotel quarantine when Shen comes to Hong Kong. Well, I guess that's a perfect place for us to wrap up this chat. Francis, thank you so much for your valuable insights. And for the rest of us, if you want to check out more content from the All Market Summit Asia, please visit hk.finance.yahoo.com. Thank you and see you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Francis.